What is up, ladies and gentlemen? In this episode, it's going to be a little bit different. It's a special episode because of the fact that here in LA, we lost one of our own. Someone that was very important to what we call streetwear, but more importantly to what I like to say, la cultura de Los Angeles, and really specifically to the city of Venice Beach. But more importantly, even beyond, to family and friends and so many people that have been a part of what we know here in LA as born and raised. One thing that I think of, and one interview in particular that I think of Chris Spanto Printup, or as I will be referring to him as Spanto, is he said once, and I want to open it up with this, that compression creates culture. Think about that. Compression creates culture. This is a special episode and a special dedication to none other than now the late great Chris Spanto Printup. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Hola, ¿qué tal, familia? My name is Noan El Boricua, and I am your host here at Fuel Pasión Podcast, where it's always immersing ourselves dentro de la cultura, always growing in our faith, and always making those conexiones, those connections. And I started off with that, right? Really understanding that on June 28th, and I think many of you may already know, but on June 25th, Spanto got in a really bad car accident in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which then on June 28th, which was a Wednesday, they unfortunately, due to the severe injuries, he ended up passing away. And for me, I think, and I'm gonna share the interaction that I had with him. I had very, very just kind of hi and bye, or hey, how's it going? Because he would always visit our office at least once a week that I know of. And there was one moment that I had a chance to be able to share with quite a few of my colleagues. And I got to give a special shout out to just Antonio and specifically Ryan, because Ryan was always the one that told me, hey, you need to just share what you want. What you tell me, you need to share this with Spanto. And I was always kind of hesitant because I understand, right? When it's when there's a process in something and there's a journey in it, that you want to let the creator or the creative really be immersed in the work when they're collaborating with other companies. And I think for me, that was something that I always really respected about him. So I'm going to share what that was, because I hope this can really tie in for everybody else, or really understanding the importance of who Spanto was to Venice Beach, to LA, and really just to his tribal nation. Like, there's a lot of things about him that I think for me, I just want to share with you, like some learnings that I learned from him and his journey. Now, we know, or let me just give you a quick, like, because there's been so many great videos out there of just kind of recapping Chris's life, Spanto's life, and just really recapping the whole journey of born and raised. I'm gonna give a super high level because I kind of want to talk about just what are a couple things that I learned from him that I hope you as well can kind of observe it, see it, and hopefully maybe engage and kind of doing what he has been doing since day one. So Spanto, as many that know him and the brand know it as Los Angeles, as LA, but I know for a fact that those that do know, Spanto was a true Venice Beach native here in California. Not only that, his family has been here for approximately 100 years. So it's always in Venice Beach. So when I think of who he is as a Venice Beach native, it's also from his parents, this Apache and Seneca native heritage, that really one of his last collaborations with Levi's was paying homage to his father Butch. And I think for me that sums up a lot of like who he is to me, because I had a chance, and I've shared this before, of going to Washington and to be able to meet the Tulalip Nation and really understand a lot of what our Native Americans have been doing since day one. And we can get into the whole other thing of like before their land was stripped from them. But I think of Chris Spanto, and I think of really a guy that understood, not only am I going to start this brand in, back in 2013, but he also like, teamed up with someone, and many know in the born and raised family as Two Tone, also a Venice Beach native. And those two guys got together and really just started changing the whole game. But I think for me, one of the biggest things when I think of born and raised, I think of cultura. I think of just amazing art and graffiti. I think of like hip hop, punk, rock, skaters, surfers, gangsters, and I think of like the Latinos, right? That like one of the collabs, my favorite ones was the one with Mr. Cartoon. I thought that was just really amazing, and I think like he was so intentional, right? When we think of Spanto, of being and finding the true essence of Los Angeles, and that's what I love about this brand at Born and Raised is that me growing up in LA as well. I grew up around the gangs. Look, Spanto unfortunately passed away at the age of 42. I'm 46. So him and I can really click and reminisce on a lot of things that were very similar. We saw the different things. I mean, I think there was a couple times where he always shared about understanding like creasing your jeans. I remember creasing my shirts down the middle. I don't know if anybody else remembers that, but it was this thing that even though you weren't a gangster, you understood that you were from Los Angeles, right? That you were rocking your Cortez, that you were rocking your socks. I don't rock high socks anymore. I know they say the higher the sock, the downer the fool, but I just don't do that. So I'm rambling. What I want to really get to here is not only did Chris start Spanto start this brand in 2013, but literally a couple months into doing this, Spanto was diagnosed with terminal T cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And I highly recommend you look up some of the interviews and the journey. And even on his Instagram, many of the photos, he fought like hell and he beat it out in 2017. And I think one of the things that I really loved about him in learning about these interviews throughout the years is that he understood like, yo, how are we gonna beat this? Because I gotta get back to work. And in those 4 years, and all those years of being in the hospital with Two Tone, they basically created this brand from the ground up. Many know the story. He had 36 shirts coming out, and starting and selling them. And, then he would flip them and reinvest and keep, printing and selling. Like this guy truly understood grassroots marketing at its finest. He always shared that he wasn't someone that had a college degree. He didn't have a certification. He didn't have none of that. I think, if anything, he had the hustle mindset. He understood what it took to be able to go forward. And I think for me, as I'm thinking of all these small moments, there's some thoughts that I put together and I kind of wrote them down. And for those that are listening on the podcast, if you haven't had a chance to just see it on YouTube, I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from. But it was a lot that I wrote, and I hope that you guys can I don't know. I hope this can pay homage to Spanto, just because I loved seeing how he connected so well with his native, his indigenous families, how he understood that father wound, and how he recovered from that moment. But I think when I think of Spanto, we think of this in this very beautiful cultural tapestry that we call Los Angeles. So many few have left an incredible mark like Spanto, and a man that was had a creative vision, an entrepreneurial spirit, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Spanto not only became this like influential figure in the city, but he really established a brand that became synonymous with the beautiful city that I love, and for many of my Angelinos that you love, and that's Born and Raised. His contributions, both at the local community level as well as in the fashion world, solidified him in a very significant place as a figure in this city, and really the history of this city. And I think that's something that when I was like thinking about and writing this, like I was like, yo, like it's kind of wild, man, because I remember when he did his collaborations with the Dodgers, the Lakers, as of late LAFC, prior to them winning the championship, and Levi's and like Union and so many different like just brands, Nike, it is just something that for me is been really big. And I think for me, like, when I think of Spanto, like, he did grow up in Venice Beach. He did grow up in a time where gentrification started really being very influential in the city of Venice, and he was tired of it. And not only him, but many people alike, where they were saying these people are not of LA. These are transplants. And I think for those of us that have grown, born and raised, no pun intended, in LA, we know how that feels. And I think that's why I resonate with Spanto. That's why I resonate with understanding this cultural voice of a brand, that anywhere that we go, when we wear this stuff, people ask about it. There's a very significant, iconic font that is used. It's not this particular one, that a shirt that I'm wearing, but I'll probably show it to you later. But it's a specific kind of font that everyone knows that is the LA culture. That is who we are. And as Born and Raised continue to like go on, what really set them apart was their commitment to this social activism and really community empowerment. And I think of, like, many have already kind of heard the story of the sticker with the chief head, and it basically says genocide by gentrification. Uh, Unreal, man, just to rock a sticker like that back in the day. But Spanto's brand wasn't just about clothing. Like, him and Two Tone, they just didn't want to do something about clothing. It was about, how do we elevate the voice of these untold stories of the marginalized communities in Los Angeles, in Venice Beach. So what did they do? They incorporated these powerful symbols, powerful imageries, and very thought-provoking messages into the design. Spanto challenged, like, the conventional notions of fashion, even, like, just kind of blurring the lines of, like, this art and style and activism. And I would highly recommend, go on YouTube and just look up some of the interviews. And there's one, I wish I would have remembered, maybe if I were to look back, but there's one where I see him where they're really trying to get this one particular shot. And it was the collab that they were doing with Union. This is way back in the day. And they had a bunch of young guys skating. They had no permit, and they were trying to get the particular shot. And I think what I loved about him is that he was always just, like, on the go. And shout out to even the people that he reached out to. Like, he always wanted to keep it very local. And I think for me, when I think of Spanto and Born and Raised, I think of, like, how it's become this catalyst for change, a catalyst of supporting local initiatives in the city of Los Angeles, and collaborating with so many different artists and so many different people that have this shared common vision that Spanto and Born and Raised continues to have. And I think by partnering, right, one of the things that I really loved that was very new to me was giving back. There's this Ronald McDonald walk that was really important to him and his family, that every time people that signed up and made the donation, they got a chance to rock a shirt. And here you have a whole squad of people, of a man who beat cancer and is really trying to help other families with the Ronald McDonald Foundation, that I think was really dope. We see what he recently did to a graduating class at Venice High School, where the seniors all got a pair of the Nike Dunks that it's just so dope to see what he's done. Which, shout out to a good friend of mine, Jerry. His daughter had a chance to be a senior that she did not know they were going to get a pair, and he hit me up and was like, yo, and I was like, wait a minute, what? So I think shout out to Born and Raised, and really Spanto always giving back, because we see his commitment to social responsibility that resonated with so many of us Angelinos who saw Born and Raised not just at this brand, but really un movimiento of progress. So how can I close this out? I had a chance to meet him. We were kind of hanging out, some of the guys, after work, and Spanto came over. He was grabbing a drink, and Ryan was like, we all had a chance to say what's up to him. I think Antonio had a hat on, said Born and Raised, and he was like, oh, dope hat, and at that moment, I had just lost my mentor and very good friend, Ellen Bayo, who she passed away from cancer. And it was about a week or two after when I got to see Spanto. And I got up knowing of his native, because Ellen Bayo is from the Lakota Nation. And I had a chance to share with him how I had the opportunity to have the learnings of understanding the elders making this spiritual blanket when someone passes away. And when I was sharing that with him, he was very intrigued that I was willing to understand it. He shared with me, one, he wanted to know exactly where I was from. So I thought that was kind of dope. And I told him that, I was born in Pedro, lived in Long Beach. But lived the majority of my life in Hawthorne. And he knew all the spots. He knew all the different cliques. I thought it was kind of dope that when you know someone that's native to LA, they just know the areas and a lot of other people don't know. And we were just talking, and one of the things at the end that he shared with me personally was, he goes, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you send me a photo of that blanket that they gave your friend, the elders? And I was like surprised, because I was like, wow, that's kind of dope that he really wants to know. And sure enough, I did, and he liked the photo when I sent it to him via Instagram. And I was grateful for that, because I can only imagine how many DMs, people at the type of work that he does, of how many people are always constantly messaging. But I was grateful for that. I was grateful for a man that was always humble. I was grateful for a man that really understood about giving people their flowers. And when I think of being a leader and being someone within the business world or in the community, I think for me, this recognition in life is the importance of acknowledging and uplifting those who contribute to our success of our communities. And Spanto was that dude. Every time I saw Spanto do a photo shoot, or I saw he was constantly giving people their props. He was constantly giving, he was intentional with the Levi's collaboration of honoring his late father and having just native indigenous people behind the scenes, behind the cameras. And I think for me, it's Spanto understood individual accomplishments are often the result of a collective effort, and recognizing and appreciating the contributions of others that is so crucial to be able to foster a very supportive and inclusive environment, especially when you're from LA. And I think for me, the key lesson is to be able to cultivate a genuine culture of gratitude and recognition within a team or in a community. When was the last time that you did that for someone? Spanto showed me that he did it all the time, that he was willing to stop and acknowledge others and to thank people. And he truly was a part of our Nike family here in LA. And I thought that was really dope. There's a verse, and I know people know it as the golden rule. And it's in the book of Matthew 7:12. And the verse says that, so whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law of the prophets. Now, I don't know Spanto's faith journey, but I will acknowledge that this guy actually did that. And I think for me, not only that, his approach really highlights the importance of actively seeking out and not willing to be quiet, but speak up and amplify the voices of those that are doing great things when they seem to be overlooked or marginalized. He understood what it is to have representation, what he understood about uplifting artists, being an activist, and just understanding these shared visions and values. I hope that we understand that, because at the end of the day, like I said, he was down to earth. He had this vision of humility and selflessness. And I know that some of you guys will be like, no, man, he was pretty hardcore. No, he was. He lived a hard life. He had to battle a lot of different things growing up. There was something that I kind of wanted to read, but it's a really long thing. Maybe I'll post a photo. Go there. There's something where I resonate with him, because I shared that in a very small moment that I had of not having a father around to make you do the right decisions and make the right choices in life. And he made some decisions that he was I messed up. I went to prison. I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. But divinely has made him who he was to be able to create this movement and this brand that we know as Born and Raised. My hope is that we understand and that we could be able to, at times as leaders, step back, or if you're part of a team and in a project, learn to step back to give someone else that opportunity. Spanto did that for a lot of people. Now I want to say thank you, Spanto. I want to say thank you for being a great son, a great sibling, a great husband, a great father. And I want to say thank you for being one hell of an Angelino that did not and will still not, because I only know that his family will carry this on, of taken away of who we are as Angelinos. And my hope is that if you're still watching this and listening to this, I hope you can really think about that. Think about those people that are constantly being marginalized or maybe not given the opportunity to share their stories. Give them their light. Spanto did that every day. Let it be through graffiti and through the arts and through, I think one of the things he used to love giving back to all his friends and just everyone in family was the Sadie Hawkins dance. And I thought that was amazing. Like, he really was about community. He really was about his family. He really was about bringing those people that have been there from the get-go through all the hard times. And I think as professionals, when we think about our careers, we need to look at people like this and really say, yo, man, it's unfortunate that we lost someone so young. But there were so many great values and so many great things about them that we can take and hopefully be able to put into our journey and to be able to be that for other people. See, the leadership lesson that we can derive from Spanto regarding giving others their flowers, as a lot of people like to say, or recognition in life, is to be able to cultivate a culture of gratitude, be inclusive, be humble, but acknowledging and uplifting also the contributions of others, actively seeking out the marginalized voices and promoting some dope moments of collaborative environments, because leaders can create a space where everyone feels valued, inspired to be able to make a meaningful impact. And I want to say thank you, Spanto, because you were one of those people. You truly understood what it is that under compression, you, sir, created an amazing culture that highlights who we are here in LA. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking this out. And as always, I hope you guys can go to our website, fuelpasionpodcast.com. And remember, always immerse yourself dentro de la cultura, in the culture. Always grow in your faith. Y como siempre, make those conexiones, those connections. And my prayers for the Printup family and all those that have been truly inspired and impacted by the man himself, Chris Spanto Printup. Thank you so much, and may God be with you. Y como dice mi abuelita, que Dios te bendiga.